Hi, I'm Christina, and I'm introducing Gareth today. He lives down in Devon, so it sounds beautiful down there. So I'm just having a little conversation. He's become a friend of mine, and I've gotten to know him quite well, actually, over the last few weeks. And so I'm going to introduce him. He's very creative. So we're going to talk a little bit about creativity. Now, I know the audience is going to be intrigued to know a little bit more about that, knowing me, because they know I'm creative. I've got a kindred spirit here. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that and his interest in literature and books and things that he enjoys, which is often around inspiration. So, hi, Gareth, nice to see you.
Hi, Christina. Good to see you.
You're looking very handsome there in your nice, lovely cardi. Yeah, we're liking that.
Christmas present. Yeah.
Christmas presents are good, aren't they?
Yeah.
Now, I know you have a love of literature and books, and in fact, I do believe you've taught around that particular subject. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
I've been a teacher for about 20 years, teaching English and drama quite a lot, and film studies, amongst other subjects, and a bit of music as well. And I went to teaching really as a fullback career when I was about 21, 22 after university, and didn't really plan to be a teacher for 20 years, but then was sucked into the sort of, trappings of good income and stable, secure life. So I stayed in teaching till last year. And in that time, I've taught English up to A level and drama up to A level, and I loved it. I love literature. I didn't like the language side so much. That became very dry and like a mechanical process, whereas literature is what really sort of fires me up.
Now, I'm the same. I love to write. I've published works. I enjoy writing and art, and I am an illustrator, respectively, and a myriad of other things. So highly creative. So I entirely understand that. Now, the passion goes out of creativity when you start to get into the system, so to speak, and you're not blatantly doing it for yourself. So I'm hearing here that you lost your passion
Yeah.
for your interests. So tell me a little bit about the sort of dramas and plays and books that you enjoy, so we can. So I'm sure the audience. Just bear with me a second. The audience now, please, those who are listening on this live today, can you comment below on your favourite literature? Hashtag your favourite book. Hashtag your favourite play. We'd love to hear more about that. And the comments below, there's some coming in already. Okay, yeah. So tell me a little bit about your plays and books and things that you like, because I know I like those sorts of things.
Well, I suppose the first play that really impacted on me was King Lear when I was in my A-levels. And it's a funny story because I didn't really like English up until I was 16. I used to find it a bit prescriptive, and I was a bit sarcastic about things. And I remember once finishing an essay about Ted Hughes and finishing with the phrase "Well done, Ted!" ! And being told off by the teacher at the time because I was being facetious. But then suddenly at A-level, I got it. And one of the A-level texts was King Lear. And we went to see the Royal Shakespeare Company's production, which had Robert Stephens as Lear. And I knew nothing about him or any of the other cast, but there was looking back, an amazing cast with Robert Stephens, and David Bradley was Gloucester, and I forget his name now, the Welsh actor, Owen, he's probably about 60 now, but he was playing Edmund, I forget his surname, it might be Owen Jones. And just a really good cast, and Stephens was amazing. So I think King Lear was the first play that really impacted on me, and it was a great production as well. And that's an interesting one because Lear gets harder, I think, as you get older, and particularly now because I've got two daughters. You can start to feel that older father's view of things, and yeah. So that was
I like
the first.
that.
Yeah.
Do you like your dramas, because they are dramas, aren't they? Plays, and plays particularly bringing character, and character allows life characters to come to life.
Yeah, I
So
definitely believe that the reason I love literature is because it's about life and about people and being human. And that's again why I'm a big Shakespeare fan, is because I think he was a great humanist. I think it's interesting how more people read Shakespeare now than the Bible, particularly for looking for guidance, spiritual guidance. And whoever he was, or she, no one knows anything about him or her really, or them. They clearly had a great understanding of humans, male and female, and of all races and all creeds. And I think that's amazing. And so Shakespeare's a big thing. And I always get frustrated when people write him off as being boring or
oh no, I
old-fashioned.
love Shakespeare. No, I'm getting. Oh no, I love Shakespeare. I taught my son Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. How could you not? I mean,
Yeah,
each of the characters has got all the the foibles of human ways, and the dramas play out with such brilliant execution. So I can understand that. And I think, yes, I agree with you. I have heard more people appreciate it more in recent years than I had heard. I suspect it was a collective of people collaborating as writers, a bit like Blackadder, where they all got together.
Team, or he might have been the sort of figurehead, but then there's a theory that it might have been the Earl of Southampton, who obviously wasn't allowed to write plays because it was seen as a slum thing to do. So he might have been sort of using it as a pseudonym. I always like the idea. I used to always say to classes, if you think in terms of who knows the names of EastEnders writers, and no one does. But that's basically what Shakespeare was. He wrote soap operas, and it was a quick turnaround.
And of course, the Greek tragedy started the whole idea of plays and theatre. I love the theatre. I love it. I love it. And as a speaker myself, I love audience. Hey, there's nothing quite like feedback on an audience. You're never going to ever better that response. So I understand that. Now, I want to lead this little bit, our conversation around getting back your passions. Now, if you were going to be guided back to your passions, what would you actually spend your time doing? Would you start reducing writing, because your writing is rather good? What would you do? Would you direct plays? Would you create a video content in terms of direct something? What would you do?
I've always wanted to write much more. I'm not sure what, but literature of some kind. I've been looking at setting up a blog, both as me and as another character, and sort of having some fun with that. I've always wanted to be an artistic director and set up my own theatre company and see where that went. Particularly with sort of the classics. In the Southwest, there isn't a lot of classical theatre happening. Most of the companies do farces and Acheborn and that kind of lighter weight stuff. And I want to act again. And I think, I'd love to get back into acting in theatre and film. Just a sort of portfolio, really, I suppose, and pursue it.
Okay, so the audience will be listening to us thinking, I'd like to do that too, because if I'm a creative, I want to act, I want to direct, I want to write. That's normal for a creative, hey? And so I believe that you may have a vehicle to do that now. We've been talking about that today, and a lot of people want a vehicle to do that, and they don't believe it's possible, which is that horrible, seesaw that we all do.
Yeah.
But I've started to see some of your works come out, and I'm aware that there's a great writer in there and a person developing characters and ideas, and who's got a great way of understanding words. It's not just understanding words per se, they're flat, but uses words to accompany a story, like you've seen some of my posts. The blog idea sounds brilliant. If you had enough money, of course, you could then go off and do your own thing, couldn't you? You could have your own theatre company.
Yeah.
Kate Winslet set up her own initially. She had her own theatre. Gosh, I rather liked. And so I think money is part of the answer here, as well as the creative expression. But you used an expression where you wanted to find your mojo again, your inner self. Yeah, and you've got to do a bunch of things to do that. And the audience is thinking the same thing. They're going to be thinking, where's my mojo going? Where's my creativity? Now, in pandemic, I've met a lot of people who have been more creative, and I'm going to ask the audience, what creativity they're into. Do they like art? Please hashtag that, art. If you like painting, writing, if you like directing or acting, pop it in the comments below, please. That would be fantastic. How would you get back to So how would you get back to directing and doing something like that, or being an art director or anything? Have you got any plans to do anything like that in your mind's eye, even if it's just visualizing it?
It's all kind of ideas at the moment. I've got sort of short-term ideas. I mentioned the blogs, and I've got an idea of setting up some sort of video channel as well, where a friend of mine suggested that I performed or gave sort of recitations of poems and that kind of thing. A bit in the style like Patrick Stewart did last summer. I don't know if you remember, he was hosting, and he went through all the sonnets. I thought I might do a bit of that, sort of 2 or 3 minute excerpts or short poems. And then I thought, and I might also then off that have a fictional character who I've got in my mind, who's developing, who is going to be a kind of parody of the old grandiose ham actors. And so it's going to be something like Musings from the Armchair. And he's going to be like a grand old, sort of Rafe Richardson, Donald Tyndon type actor who's going to in his 70s, 80s, and drinks brandy and has a smoking jacket and a cravat and all that business, and he's going to give his sort of views on life as an old ham, but then within that to include performances in sort of Shakespearean style of pop song lyrics. So I ran this by some
good.
last week. The idea of, like, do you know the song WAP?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah,
Very inappropriate lyrics, but
yeah.
performed in a sort of a Shakespearean grandiose style. Just to be funny, really, and sort of, have that, and then develop things from there, I think, and see who notices and where it goes. And I'm
So now,
very inspired by Mischief Theatre Company, who have become sort of very popular recently. They're the show that goes wrong. And I like the idea how they work, and it's sort of gone quite sort of slowly from sort of small beginnings, and they've sort of snowballed ever since.
brilliant. So now we've got plans in place to be your creative and authentic self, which a lot of people are trying to reach. We're all trying to get to our authentic place. I love the idea of starting with a channel and then developing out into a character, maybe doing something with that. Because I actually have my own channel, which you're aware of, called
Yeah.
Simply Inspired, right? SimplyInspired.live. And there I'm able to put out all sorts of inspirational things, a lot of teaching things in my instance with coaching. But, the arts lends itself to this idea of poetry. Liam does a lot with inspiration. That's my son, in terms of these sorts of things. I think that's a marvellous idea. Now, we're throwing ideas out there, guys. If you've got any great ideas, comment below for us, because these are great. I think that's very inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm quite excited by that.
Yeah. Why didn't you do that?
I'm going to, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got the ideas of brewing, yeah. And the other thing I do want to pursue, which is not so creative in a way, but more to do with the performance, is voiceover work, and sort of get into that. It's just a matter of opening the doors, really, and finding the way in, and
Well,
having the freedom and creativity to open those doors.
I have the doors, Gareth. When things happen with books, there's going to be audios needed and things, which is, you're part of a creative team now, so you're going to have other things happen because you've got a lot in common, obviously. And so you're going to see things magically happen, honestly. And there's more here than you could imagine, obviously. And so for you, you've got to keep that hope and now step forwards and step out of faith, which you're doing. And you and I can start to establish these ideas because I've done it. And, I'm a bit ahead of you, but in a good way. And we can do that. I'd love the idea of doing some of this work together. Well, I find you very inspiring, Gareth, and I think the audience will too, because they're very much in a similar place. And your people who are watching this, even know you will know this is in your heart, because in your posts that's pretty evident. And you are now being who you are, which is super, which is this natural, latent creative, which I can sort of almost feel that it's tangible. It's been a pleasure.
I think in life it's the balance between money, which everyone needs, obviously, and you have your demands of mortgages or renting or bills and family to support, and then not being trapped by that and having the bravery to go and follow your heart. And I think I'm at the stage now where I've thought, well, I've tried that 20-year rat race slog and that's not really worked, and I'm not happier, so I'm going to try this sort of just let go and see what happens and trust the universe, really, and let the doors open, I guess.
I'm a big believer in that. Anybody who works with Christina will know that that's the case. I am that person. I will let it go now. I wouldn't when I was younger. I became a nurse when I first left school. But these days, art, me, creativity, doing what I need to do, being me, is what it's all about for me. So I do let go. I've let go of the literally gone off the shore and let the rope off and let the boat go. And I think that you're making the right choices. I think a lot of people in the audience would agree with that. But it is brave.
Well, teaching was a very free creative career. When I first became a teacher, you could be yourself, and I'm sure many people remember the Mavericks that taught them, and they weren't maybe the most popular members of staff with the heads, but they were the ones that you remembered, and particularly arts teachers, whether it was English or drama or art or music, and they've kind of been phased out, and I think there's very few of them left because you've got to sort of toe the line so much now, and it's all very prescriptive and dry and all about exams and results and targets and data. It's just, for an arts teacher, it's death, really.
Mrs. Burton, who was my first art teacher, who ever really knew I was brilliant at art, was one of my favourites. I had a number of literature teachers whom I loved because they loved literature, but they were maverick. So I totally relate to that. And these days you can't. I've taught my son everything I know from my creative background to him, because he would never get it in the system. But we've had a lovely conversation.
Yeah,
And we're
thank
going to,
you.
you know, it's been a lovely time spent with you, Gareth, as always. You're such a nice character to be with. You're very pleasant and very gentlemanly, and so I've enjoyed myself.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been
Good to
fun.
talk to you as always. Yeah.
Always, yes. There's always a nice cultural experience between us, isn't